My name is Em. I'm working on care coordination with LaShanya. And we just wanted to open the space with a bit of grounding, a bit of commitment as we all gather here today. And so the first thing is we want to hear from everybody here. The Vermont Truth and Reconciliation Commission is grounded in values of upholding dignity, empathy, humility, and grace. Empathy, humility, and grace. And that's a commitment that the commission has made, and that's a commitment that we all made when we entered this space. It's hanging there on that easel. And so what we'd like to do is just go around and have folks speak their name into the space, and then also just a word of commitment to upholding the empathy, grace, and humility that we've committed to. So you could say something like, I commit, I'm committed, something like that, just so that we create a sacred circle of commitment as we prepare to witness these stories.
To come closer, or just to share?
If you would like to come closer, you're welcome to. If you're comfortable where you're at, you're welcome. I will use sort of a pointing technique to just move around, but also just feel free to intuitively follow the person who's spoken ahead of you. Are you open to starting us? All right.
My name is Roderick, and I am committed.
My name is LaShanya, and I am committed.
My name is Em, and I am committed.
My name is Crystal. This is Lori. We're interpreters. We're committed.
Beautiful.
My name is Mia, and I am committed.
My name is Jenny, and I am committed. My name is Melody, and I am committed.
My name is Amanda. I am committed.
My name is Danielle, and I am committed.
I am Michelle, and I am committed.
I'm Aurora, and I'm committed.
My name is Clayton, and I am committed.
My name is Liz, and I am committed.
Wait.
I am Diana, and I am committed.
My name is Roy. I am committed.
My name is Vera, and I'm committed.
My name is Mike, and I am committed. I'm Ron, and I am committed.
My name is Maggie, and I'm committed. I'm Lisa, and I'm committed. My name is Faith, I am committed.
Okay. Thank you all. And we're also going to follow a practice that can be helpful in just getting everybody together and grounded. Maybe you've done it before, maybe not. But it's a practice of just humming. So LaShanya and I are going to start humming, and then we welcome everybody to join us sort of on that cadence just for a long collective hum. And we have somebody new joining us, and I wonder if you would be open to sharing your name and a commitment to the humility, empathy, and grace that VTRC is committed to.
My name is Opeyemi. It translates, I am eternally grateful from the Yoruba language, and I commit to presence and
Empathy, humility, and grace.
Humility and grace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
Okay, so I'm going to start humming. You're welcome to join in, and then we'll sort of taper off as we're ready, but we're just going to hold it for a while together, take some deep breaths, and have a collective hum. So when you're ready. Beautiful. Thank you all. Okay, I turn it over to our commissioners. Welcome, everybody.
Paul and Melody. So we are the land, and the land is us. If Mother Earth, the land we are on, had a voice today, what would she say about where she has been, how she feels now, and where she hopes to be? How can we co-create a beautiful journey together as relatives? what is her truth? And when we speak of a truth commission for Vermont, should we not also consider Mother Earth herself and literally what Vermont actually is? A small piece of a very large world. I read a story to my daughters sometimes called Who Came Down That Road? And I think about the journey so far, from the origins to the oceans, the formation of the soil and the very earth itself, and all the kinds of different life that has made up this place. The great meadows on the river and the stone structures on the West Mountain here are lasting examples of the depth and breadth of native land relationships in this particular place. Those relationships have never been broken. And there are many stories still held there that can still be remembered to this day. And as an active agent in all of our creation, Mother Earth teaches us to be responsible, good citizens. My hope is that we can hold each other today in the same respect and love as she holds us. Thank you.
Next is our folder.
We would like to introduce our elder, our grandmother, who will be joining us today. Our elder's name is Elisa Starkweather. Elisa has held the hearts of so many of our community members in this area, some of the hearts of our most vulnerable populations. And we've asked her, we're very grateful to have her with us today. She is available to be spoken with, just to be sat with, and just your presence here. Thank you so much. And I would invite you to say a few words for us to help us set our grounding for the day.
Thank you, Shana.
We've come to this moment. This is a sacred and important moment. One of the grandmothers from Greenland said that it may be too late for humanity on the earth. She said this, but she said, what our work is now is to melt the hearts of humanity. To melt our hearts. So this work here today, dedicated to grace, to dignity, to truth-telling, to heart. It is essential right now for the healing of our world. But the one thing I know about stories is I have heard so many in my life, is that stories can be told with how we coped and our strategies. But there's another story that our bodies tell, that place of the somatic, the place where the story is really held deep all the way through our ancestral lineages. And that story you may not hear today. You may not hear the grief. You may not hear the rage that the body actually speaks. The way that there are ancestors now that did not survive some of the things that we may hear and know. They're no longer here to tell the story. But we are here. We have shown up to this moment. And I am deeply honored to be coming into this moment with you and for the courage of those that will voice their truth. Because truth is healing, and we can feel it in our bodies. So I'm here for you. I'm honored to be here with you, and I thank you for doing this work, and I thank us for doing this work together. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Roderick Owens. I'll be your facilitator for today. I'm here for a variety of reasons, and I'm just glad to be able to hold space and participate with you. Before we begin, I want to share with you our working pledge and the shared commitments that guides our work and time here together. Lead with grace. We engage hard topics, race, disability, oppression, with grace, humility, and empathy. Walk the journey together. We're on a shared path to dismantle harm and build something better, together. Honor discomfort. We commit to dignity and respect, even when it is uncomfortable or we disagree. Embrace non-closure. We accept that not everything will be resolved. We stay curious and open. Speak with intention. We listen actively, speak from our own experience, and hold space without judgment. Practice the platinum rule. We treat others how they ask to be treated, not how we assume they want to be treated. Our own impact. We acknowledge that intent does not erase impact, and we take responsibility when harm is caused. Center interconnected struggles. We uplift Act 128 communities and affirm that oppression is never a single issue. Protect what is sacred. We treat each other's truths with care, honor, and protection. Co-create space. We share responsibility for building a space rooted in accountability, care, and transformation. Keep liberation in sight. We understand that discomfort is part of the work, and community, where all can thrive, is the goal. The pledge is our collective agreement to approach this space with grace, humility, and empathy. We commit to treating each other and our stories with sacred care, recognizing that even with good intentions, harm can happen. If discomfort arises, we will meet it with curiosity and respect. We dedicate ourselves to active listening, using I statements, and honoring each person's preferences and experiences. And with that being said, I'd like you to know as well, upstairs, we have a spiritual room off to the right. There's also a children's room to the left. And there's a care room and the quiet room, which are down here, just in case you need a little extra assistance. And there's a smudging room upstairs as well. So if you need any help or assistance, please reach out. As you can tell, there's a lot of supportive people already here, and we're here for you. I'm gonna try to keep things mellow and laid back and relaxed, and we should be okay. We are beginning our truth-telling block 1. We'll hear from 2 speakers, basically about a 5-minute break in between, which is enough time maybe to stretch and get situated, not enough time to particularly leave the room. We'll do that after our first two speakers. And in between, to take time to ground yourselves, and I invite you to listen deeply and to remain present. Okay, so first, we'll let the speaker introduce themselves.
Oh, we're gonna have Faith do some logistical,
yes.
more logistics. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
Okay. Ooh, nice. Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Faith Yakubian. I use she, her, they, their pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director for the Vermont Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and it's such an honor to be in your presence today. So I have the honor to talk about some logistical pieces before we continue, not get started, because Roderick and everyone else has started us. To my left, we have ASL interpreters, Lori Schaefer and Crystal Eyre. Thank you so much for being here with us. We are grateful for your presence and participation. Thank you, Johnny Glifford, and other members of the Brattleboro Community Television, we are live streaming this event via YouTube, which allows for closed captions. Also, we are closed captioning this event with the assistance of PowerPoint slides. This is projected onto the screen, which is above me. Gender-specific bathrooms are down the hall, past the art table and registration, or directly outside this building to the right. And gender-inclusive bathrooms, non-gender specific, are upstairs. To support our collective and individual health, we have masks and hand sanitizers that are available at the registration table. They're also available down here alongside me. You may have met our safety guards, Elijah and Dan from Chocolate Thunder. They are here to support our safety and our wellness, our respectful space as well, maintaining that space. You have heard from Emma Lashanya. They are our beloved care team, and they are located at the lower level outside this door, right over here, the door to my left. As Roderick said beautifully, there's spaces upstairs and down here to support folks in a variety of capacities. We hope you will connect with people and join those spaces. We have coffee and fidget spinners and stress balls and water and scones and snacks that could tie you over until lunch, which will be across the lawn outside. And we will talk more about that as that gets closer, but we will have a lunch hour or lunch half hour, and that will be pleasant to share food and space and spirit with all of you. Now I'll turn over to the commissioners who will address the theme for today's truth-telling session.
Thank you, Faith. Today, we hold truths collectively so that we can recommend change for the future. In the political reality we live in, where community members are being harmed in so many ways, Vermont is striving to do better. We are here with these truths in the hope that they touch the hearts and souls of Vermonters who want a different today for those living now, a better tomorrow for those yet to come, and to honor those who have endured and fought for us to be here. Today, we honor the people who are courageous enough to share their truths in public with all of you. Maybe we do not even have the language for all of this. Maybe our words are shaped and limited by the way the world was designed, a world not made for all of us, but only for a few. This is why we begin today with openness to the experience of brave community members who are reshaping a world that was not originally shaped for them. Our lives are shaped by movement, not just in the physical sense, but in the opportunities we can reach, the spaces we can enter, and the futures we can imagine. Yet for many, those movements have been blocked. A college classroom at the top of 3 flights of stairs with no elevator, a job application portal that shuts you out if you do not have high-speed internet, a bus route that skips your neighborhood entirely, a government form you cannot complete because the website will not work with your screen reader. For others, those barriers take the form of racial profiling, daily harm because of the color of their skin, or raising children in a world where police hostility is a constant fear. Some have been harmed over generations by systems that allow sexual abuse to run rampant, by the neglect of disabilities and mental health, by laws and practices designed to exclude. Vermont's own history tells us that those harms are not distant. In 1912, the state authorized the creation of Vermont State School for the feeble-minded, and I quote, an institution that from 1915 to its closure in 1993 confined over 2,300 Vermonters. Many were sent there not because of any true medical need, but because of poverty, illiteracy, disability, or simply being different. It became a tool for the eugenics movement, segregating women in childbearing age. It participated in studies that labeled families as, again, quote, degenerate, and supporting sterilization laws. The harm was deeply personal. A Vermont state school record from the 1970s read, a young resident is becoming increasingly upset. The more she's locked up, the less control she's able to maintain until the current program. She told me, the only thing they know how to do is lock me up. Another record said she had to be transferred directly to a therapeutic home rather than subjected to solitary confinement, which hardly constitutes humane or effective treatment for a pregnant and emotional travel young girl. These words are not far from another time and place. They are from here. They show us the human cost of systems that punish instead of support. The Vermont Truth and Reconciliation Commission has worked to understand what has been lost, not just now, but across generations of discrimination. Through emblematic cases, commissioners' discussions, targeted research, we have identified both the tangible and intangible losses communities have endured. This theme matters because language matters. When we talk about access, we must look at the intersections of identities we hold. We cannot look at just one. We must look at our humanity as a whole. Today, we listen and reflect. We do so with the commitment to honor these truths, past and present, and to work toward a future where movement, in every sense, is free, fair, and open to us all.
Whatever you prefer. Before I sit, I will be, I just want to say a little prayer. I'm going to put some tobacco in this bowl as a sign of my gratitude for this. Leonie, Chine Glitch, Pitsy Manitou, Great Spirit, Great Mystery. I thank you. If it doesn't begin with gratitude, it doesn't begin. I come here with love. I mean no harm. I come here for my ancestors and the next 7 generations. Thank you. I also have a story that I wrote. If you don't mind if I stand while I do this, it's in my little notebook here. And I was going to find it. I thought I put it. That's not. I'm getting there. Here it is. So, some of my medicine is stories and writing stories, and so this is about beginning again. Back in a time when all the two-legged nation remembered ancestors and remembered that the water was life and carried memory, there was the Lady of the Pines. The wind would whisper her name, but she couldn't hear it. She couldn't remember. She forgot who she was. She did not recognize her name.
You're breaking up.
The Lady of the Pines' grandmother walked onto the spirit world. But Lady of the Pine never sang the song of mourning. She had forgotten about her ancestors and the medicine and the fire inside of her. But the spirit of grief, however, did not forget. The Lady of the Pines buried all that grief deep inside to the darkest place, deepest where her roots lived. One morning, she woke and there was a humming in her ear, and it vibrated all through her body. She closed her eyes and heard the wind say, "You are blind, open your eyes. And then she moved to the river. And the river whispered, grief is not a heavy stone to be carried. And when you cross this river, you will see. When she opened her eyes, she saw the stone medicine wheel her grandmother had built. The Lady of the Pines prayed to the east, where the light begins and the grief started. And then to the warmth of the south, where the sorrow was cleansed with the summer rain. And to the west, where the spirit of letting go resides. And to the north, where the cycle of grief turned into her ancestors' wisdom inside. She offered tobacco to Father Sky and Mother Earth and sang her morning song. And the pines listened to her song. And the spirit whispered her name, the Lady of the Pine. And for the first time ever, she remembered who she was and that this is where she begins again. So there's my story.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you. All right. Right. Get it ready.
Telling your name here.
Okay. Oh, yeah. The leg's facing this way, but my name is Jenny Jones. I am a band member of the Abenaki of Missisquoi, which means I carry many home fires. And the state of Vermont was built on a structure of power over and the church as its enforcer. We need to look through history and realize that what we were built on failed many here. At St. Joseph's Orphanage, my mother and 9 of her siblings experienced unspeakable abuses and traumas and witnessed many things no human should ever experience. All at the hand of the church and the state. Other local services, including hospitals, schools, and law enforcement and other institutions, also played a role in ignoring and participating in these abuses. Over time, we became a bystander community, unable to see abuse or recognize truth. All identity was stripped away by the church and state and replaced by religion. And state and society supported it. As a mixed Indigenous and mixed European descent, the only label that supported me was white. This has impacted me spiritually, emotionally, physically, and mentally. And abuses were ignored by the state and caused such a historical history in my family that has taken me 48 years to find some balance and alignment walking this red road. Everything else is coming from spirit. And so that said, mobility and access, right? For me, because my family history and who we were was erased. It wasn't included anywhere in school, at the doctor's office, at church. No system was there to support me. And throughout my lifetime, we were always, I was always aware of who we were, that we had Indigenous roots, and that we were not able to really discuss it outside of our home life. Because of the lack of belief and understanding through the state, it created my aunts, my uncles, my grandmother, my grandfather, my own mother. They were horribly, horribly abused. And then that ignoring of that and who they are by all community and resources that were there, it created this really abusive family environment, and was supported by society by not seeing us or not accepting who we are. And part of that is of being a light-colored person. So growing up and in school, we had catechism after school. We had to do that, right? But whenever I would mention my Abenaki roots, it was very much ignored. And many times I've been looked at as a crazy person because of even saying that. And it opened me up to a lot of abuse because people therefore didn't see me as a human anymore for some reason, because I'm this crazy person who thinks I came from a place that I could have never come from, or didn't exist, or doesn't exist anymore. And that is, you can look at my mom and my family and you can see the historical trauma. It's plainly to see. It affects our health. It affects our mental ability. It affects our how do we raise our kids. And instead of helping support us, we're told that we're liars, we're crazy, and we're medicated, right? We're medicated and we are shoved in this place a lot, and a lot of my mom has passed, and she was never able to. She prayed every morning and never let go of her Catholic religion, not once. And even her, she would look at me as a devil for even claiming or wanting to look into my Indigenous identity. And with that, with no support with school, and no support with, when I was younger, I tried to commit suicide. When I was put into an institution, I was just medicated. And nobody ever addressed this historical trauma. Nobody ever said, nobody. Until recently, I had a trauma therapist who listened and didn't make me feel like I was a crazy person. And I'm off all medications now. And I embrace my trauma. I embrace my story, because there is no light without darkness, right? And so through that, I use my story, and I'm in service of humanity in the next 7 generations. And I have my ancestors behind me, and I try to use my story in groups, sobriety and recovery groups, to help support other people and feel comfortable telling their stories. I've never done it publicly. I do it all over Zoom. So this is out of my realm. And that's called Breaking the Cycles. It's an online, I'm not, trying to promote anything, but it's a really good group. And there it's all about connection. We're disconnected in this world from nature, from ourselves, and we put ourselves above everybody. And we live in a very material place. And material things, anybody who knows me knows that they've never made sense to me. Money has never made sense to me. I've been about, connecting and supporting and earth and sky and the universe. And it wasn't until I started to walk this red road and I found people like Mondo Rodriguez and Standing Bear, Wayne Snellgrove, and We Are the Medicine, and Don Coyas, who I found him through literature and books, through White Bison. He's been very helpful. And having just those 3 things exploded inside of me and gave me this awakening of who I am and where I came from and how I couldn't keep my voice. I couldn't be quiet anymore. And then, ironically enough, Truth and Reconciliation, and I was like, oh, I guess I have to be part of this, because this is really what I'm trying to do for other people. Use your voice, tell your story. I am not an expert. I don't know everything, but I have my own lived experience, my own truth. And it is those collections of truth that makes Creator sing, right? It makes us, it creates such a great vibration. If all of us were included, we're all here whole. We are born whole, right? And we all are here with a purpose, and we all carry medicine, right? But we're not able to see that. And when we can't connect with people and we can't tell our truths, we fight our own frequency, right? And it is so painful to fight your own frequency. And then we have things like drug addiction and mental illness and abuse. And when people are always like, we have a crisis in mental health, we have a crisis with drug and alcohol abuse, the answer is already there. We already know why, right? If we were all included and we could all be heard, right, and tell our stories, it's a symptom of not being able to do that and having to fight who we are inside. And if we all are included in that, then I think the world would be a much better place, and it would be a beautiful home. Trying to think what else. So that's, let me see here.
Do you have anything
Do you feel that the state of Vermont ever targeted you or your family? And if so?
I feel that, so for a long time, I felt like I didn't have a right to have a voice because my family is also, the world is a balance. We're a balance of the light and the dark. And part of my family was Catholic and perpetuated a lot of the boarding schools, orphanages, and jails that, like in Canada and New Zealand and all over, who took Native people or people who just didn't even fit in the box and shoved them in this box, and they experienced all this abuse and over generations. And so I felt like I couldn't have a voice because all of the bad things that my family has done through the church. And I do feel that we were targeted by the state and our own family because of that. I know that, I also know that my perception isn't always the same perception of I have a big family, and we all see things our own way, feel things our own way. But yes, I feel like if there wasn't that history of that indigenous line and trying to hold on to it, I am that seed. Whether somebody thinks I'm not real or deluded or whatever they think I am, I'm a whole person. Every part of me counts, not just my European side. And to me, it is a miracle that seed that was planted by my mother, by my grandmother, and by her mother before her, and before that, and before that, that indigenous identity still exists within me and burns deep inside of me, and that flame that we all carry, that is creation. And I do feel like we were targeted. I also feel like with that, as we evolved in history, because there was no support available, and we know what happened at St. Joseph's Orphanage. I can't exactly say why that happened. We know it happened though. And because there was no support for that, and even they're liars, this didn't happen, the church doesn't do that, nuns don't do that, women don't do, then every other system failed us because we were just not seen. And it goes back to the fact that even still to this day I see it. We live in a community, or I do, that can see violence, but they don't see it. To children, to anybody. They just don't see it, they ignore it, because we were built on that, we evolved on that, and it's created a bystander community. With that said, I think Vermont is doing a great job. We know our history. Know your history, right? And don't just read one history. Read history written by all peoples, not just one. You'll have a better picture of what has happened here. But yes, I definitely, even to this day, I have many people who, like I said, I am targeted as just for saying that I'm an Abenaki person, period. And a lot of times that is a default for crazy lady. And if you look through history, a lot of indigenous women were viewed as, or put away, or men, or any, but particularly for me, the women, that I know, that was the default. You're crazy, we're gonna put you away. We're gonna medicate you, and then you're a shell of a person. And I see that today with some of my family. And some of my family has, been fighting this for a long time, and they just have given up because nobody would listen, right? And they're in their 70s, and my mom has passed now. So yes, definitely. But it is the creation of these borders and this land that made it this way, and the conquering of here, as they call it, so it's not just Vermont. But I feel like, I wear a sparrow feather, and I carry that medicine with me to remind me it's the small things, the little things in between, and that if everybody is able to come here and tell their story, we'll be able to heal. It's a healing process. What else? Go ahead. Awesome. So can you talk a little bit about how the state may have targeted folks, and they placed people at St. Joseph's? And I don't know if everyone knows what that institution is, but it was an orphanage out of Burlington that was run by the church.
Right. And, yeah. So St. Joseph's Orphanage was an orphanage in Brattleboro ran by the Catholic Church, and my family members, my grandfather's, I think uncle, my sister knows more about the.
Monsignor Jeleno.
Yeah, and he remained a bishop until he died at 100. Yeah, until he died, and he facilitated many of these things with our family, and so the state has done a whole archive about St. Joseph's Orphanage, so you can always access that. But basically, many children and it was part of, I don't know if it's necessarily part of eugenics, but it's kind of the same thing. If you didn't, if you were feeble-minded, if you were considered, poor, or if you were of a different culture, or you didn't know the language, if you didn't fit in this typical white box and they didn't agree with how you were raising your children, they took those children, right? And they put them in the orphanage. And the orphanage was this, the state, for the state. They worked for the state. I don't know if in my mind, they were paid in forces to do this. And within that, they abused many children. And so I asked myself, why were their own family members that were put in here abused so horrifically? And they saw many things. And even my mother would tell me stories of, she was really, wouldn't let us go into water over our knees because she had seen children drowned and thrown into the water source there. They would throw the children in, and if they drowned, they drowned. And she witnessed that. And many other things. There's many things my mom told me about that I don't remember from my own trauma. And I'm hoping by healing, I'll start to remember those stories, remember those things. And I'm in the service of the next 7 generations. This is where I am now. I'm in the service of the truth, and the mother, and to do what I can to help support anybody reconnect and walk that red road of connection and spirituality. And it's really healing. Did that answer it?
I want to just add to, I wanted to ask further, deeper, how your ancestors or the people, your mother, family members, how the violence that has happened against them impacted you in your life.
Oh, every part. Every part of my life has been affected because I had my family struggles because of the history that they have created this environment of a lot of people who didn't know who they were, disconnected, unhinged in a way. I hate to say broken, but broken. And they're all raising children, and they're all going to church, and they're all trying to pray to a place that had inflicted so much abuse. And what would that do to you? Think about it, right? You're praying, and I'm not here to talk bad about people who believe in religion. But I do believe in natural law. And I believe that natural law needs to come first. And that it has affected I remember being a little kid and thinking inside, there's nothing around me that supports being an Abenaki person. Like, they're disappeared. Like, why are they not here anymore? There's no answer for that. And then you evolve and you find out all these stories, and then you realize what's going on in the world. And we live in Vermont. And for me, I feel like we were a little bit behind. Now we have internet and stuff. I grew up with no internet. I didn't have computers in school, and I grew up poor. And so I didn't even think I was intelligent. So I worked physical labor. And then when I hit my 30s, I was like, my brain does work. I would, like to try to go to college. And that is when, I really realized what had happened and the history that I had lived, and that I felt like a walking assimilation, and that I felt like we were in a genocide or a cultural genocide that's still happening because it hasn't been addressed. And and whenever I would say that in my world that I am in, I would get a lot of negative because nobody, I don't know. People are like, we know the story, we know what happened, just move on, history's history. But history's not right, we're written out of it. We're not even in it. Like, the history that we learn in school doesn't include, we start with Christopher Columbus and move from there, which is a kind of a joke in itself, if you really think about it. It affected every part of my being because of the historical trauma and how it evolved and how it wasn't supported in school, at the doctor's. A good example of this is I write in Abenaki. I write it in, and I have forever. And documentation is one of the things that, Abenakis get, you don't have documentation, so therefore you're not. But in this day and age, in 2025, I write in Abenaki, and then I go and white. It says white every time. And I said something to my recent, I'm done with trauma therapy, and I've moved on to other things, and she advocated for me. I was like, this needs to be put on the record. Year after year after year, I put that on my record. And so how is it paperwork from the 1800s, 1900s, or even before that? Like, you want paperwork, but I still can't get it on a digital record. It's there now. But that was a struggle for me. And every time I go in and I would look at that yearly paperwork and be like, I'm still a white person. And there's no Abenaki in there. And I write it in every time. So I've had to not know what it meant to be Abenaki, number one, because it's not supported. And I know better now. I've connected. I'm reconnecting. I'm learning. I'm trying to learn the language as best I can. But I do a lot of spiritual groups that aren't just Abenaki. They're all over the world, actually, and trying to help support people tell their story. And it's a reciprocity, right? Reciprocity. And that's how it should work. And that's not how we do work. We're a very self-centered society, and we're all about the self and not the community, which is the absolute opposite of how a healthy society should work in my mind. So yes, it's affected everything. Everything.
So you've talked a little bit about how you would like to see it. I heard about education. Are there any other ways that we can repair this so that our future has a better experience than you do?
Yeah, well, I feel like in our schools, we should be learning about the people of the land that we're on in every school. Everybody, I think that there needs to be a different mental health type of option for Indigenous people or people who don't fit into this westernized medicine box. And that's one of the reasons why I started working with Mondo Rodriguez and doing Breaking the Cycles, because there's a lot of people, it's not like a 12-step or well variety thing. It's just merely you come with your truth, your spirituality, whatever you are, whether it's religion or not, you are accepted, and we accept your truth. And it's been amazing. And I also, so seeing things like that, and also making sure that, the medical system, that we're not walking in saying I was in St. Joseph Orphanage, and this, I know from personal experience that I've had horrible things happen to me, and I don't think I need to get into those logistics, but when you talk to people about those horrible things, they look at you disgustingly, and they may not believe you, even in the medical profession, and then they medicate you, right? And so I feel like in the school system, in the medical system, and even in, recently, I know we're state recognized, but, the whole thing with the Canadian Abenakis, what is the harm in anybody learning an Abenaki language, number one, whoever you are, right? Or talking about an Abenaki culture, or any culture for that matter, that you connect with. And so to be accepted in that way, and not to be, because sometimes when it's written about how we are pretendians, people who are in my general, that are around me, that just fuels that flame against the Indigenous person that I am, and supports how crazy I am as a person, right? So school, mental health, the doctor's office, and even at the state level, making sure that those histories are heard. And all histories. It doesn't have, I only carry my truth. I can't carry your truth. I can't carry anybody's truth but my own, but it matters. And I personally believe truth and reconciliation should be everywhere, because it's that collective history. It's not right or wrong. And if we start doing that, we might be able to see people as human instead of less than, and stop taking ourselves off pedestals and looking down on people, because we're all accepted. And so, yeah, the schools, definitely mental health, and the doctors is like a great place to start for anybody. So, yeah. Thank you. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I think that's pretty much it. But I just, want to thank you all. I really appreciate, especially you, Melanie. This is really not, I'm a very shy kind of person, and I'm trying to open up, and I know it's about connecting, and that's the part that I've missed is, it's easy for me to love from afar. But once I started to love myself and connect with people, and then having you guys here, I think that it gives me a hope for the future generations, which is what it's about, future generations, and making them feel included, no matter what their truth is. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's it. Do you guys want it? Yeah, 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Thank you guys for all your attention, and we're going to take about a 5-minute break, and we'll start with our second speaker after that. Thank you.
Yep, so thank you so much for being here. And if you want to start with your name and then tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Sean Pratt. Grew up in Brooklyn, New York, Coney Island. I'm the youngest of 5 children. I attended Abraham Lincoln High School in Brooklyn. After 1991, I graduated, came up to Johnstown, New York, Fulton Montgomery Community College. Graduated from Fulton Montgomery Community College in 1993. Then I transferred from Fulton Montgomery Community College and went on to Buffalo State. Transferred out of Buffalo State after a few months and came to Southern Vermont College, where I've been ever since. I got to Southern Vermont College in 1995. Attended school there for 2 years, was about to be there for a 3rd year. It didn't happen because of money and finances, so I found myself moving into the town of Bennington, because before that I was just primarily on the campus. Once I moved to town in Bennington, for me, that's when all the stuff started happening. I noticed, and even when I was in the college, I noticed that there weren't many programs for people like me, myself, for African Americans or Black people, which was a little bit unsettling for me. But coming from New York City, coming from a place where you're so used to living a certain way, now you had to really change and live a different way. I struggled a little bit in the beginning because there weren't many people of color. But again, I was in a situation where I wanted to leave New York City, and I didn't want to be in New York City because of I outgrew it, and I was ready to move on with my life. So when I came up to Vermont, like I said, it was a culture shock, and it was really hard for me to be myself, to be a Black man growing up in New York City, to come to Vermont and had to basically deal with a lot of things. Microaggressions. I dealt with microaggressions, dealt with a lot of racial issues that were happening, and a lot of times I was internalizing it and made it look like it was my problem, like something I did. It was kind of hard to make friends. When I did make friends, again, they didn't think the way I thought. And then the few friends that I did have that were African Americans, they kind of more, how can I say, shifted more towards whiteness. They kind of forgot about who they were, so they kind of shifted away from me. So I found myself in Bennington and being into the subculture of Bennington, right? dealing with a lot of nonsense, people that weren't, I want to be respectful about this, people that weren't conscious of where they wanted to be in life. So they were just like all over the place. And at that point, that's where I was, getting into a lot of trouble and things of that nature. But again, for me, in Vermont, what do you call trouble, right? I was getting arrested and harassed for the most trivial of offenses. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I was perfect, right? But I knew that I wasn't as bad as they were saying that I was. And a lot of that really affected me in my life and my confidence. And, you know, it led me to a situation where, you know, I had an assault, got in trouble, and immediately they wanted to put me in jail. You know, I have fought it. I have fought for myself, and as I'm fighting for myself, I felt I was getting retaliated on by the powers that be in Bennington, who at that point said that they wanted me out of here. They even made a concession as to me leaving town and not coming back. So I had to go through those situations, and then there was another situation that happened with my daughter, where they accused me of sexually abusing her at that time. But before that, remember I said I had got into a situation before that. Once they arrested me, what happened was I had a situation where I was, I took the plea deal. Once I took the plea deal, they told me you can't get in trouble again. And then this other situation that they said that I did happen, and they automatically threw me in jail without no questions, without me trying to defend myself or nothing. They just said, nope, you're going right to jail. And that really caused a lot of stress in my life because they had accused me of something that I did not do. I was sitting in jail for about, I think, 3 or 4 months. Now, during that time, I was working 4 jobs. And they basically cut me off from all my jobs. I couldn't call in. I couldn't tell them what was going on. The next day, when I woke up in a jail cell, it was all over the papers. It was all over the news that I was this, that I did a lewd and lascivious act. It was really stressful. I thought I was going to die, to be honest. I was losing my hair, stressed out and saying to myself, why am I here? There was even situations where the public defender was trying to get me to plead out, kept telling me, look, this is the plea deal, this is the plea deal. Kept coming to me with plea deals, and I kept telling them, no, why would I plea out to something that I never even did? So they basically, I had to force my own counsel to believe me, which after a while she did, which was frustrating to do at that point. But I want to say maybe 3 or 4 months after that, they said they're going to dismiss the case. But what they did do, they did say, okay, we dismissed the case, but we're still going to keep you in jail because we're going to go off because we don't believe you, and we're going to go, and you had an assault prior to that, so we're going to keep you in jail. So they kept me in jail even after that, which I felt to me was retaliation. So they had me in jail, and then I guess they was going to put me on probation or house arrest, because at that time, now I was in the jail. So they had me on probation. And when I got out, my PO, who was really nasty, and I believe in my heart she was a racist and still is. She looked at me and she told me, we still believe you did it. right? Even after the courts dropped him, she said, we still think you did it. And on my whole time on house arrest, they were basically harassing me, keeping tabs on me, would not let me go anywhere. But when I see my counterparts that did more heinous crimes than I did, they were out, they were getting new charges, all those kind of things. So, you know, I made it at that point. I seen a lot of that. I didn't say anything, but I noticed it. But it was something that really affected me. You know, once I did that and got done with the probation and everything, I had another situation, a personal situation happened that really affected me. That was really that affected my life, and got through that. And basically, I had to pay back fines. I had to pay back tickets and fines and things of that nature. So I told them, because at that point I didn't have no license, I didn't have anything. So I had to drive, I had to do things. I had a son, I had to take care of him. So they would pull me over all the time and say, you don't have your license yet. But I'm in the process of getting my license. I think I had one more ticket to pay, and then I was clear. And they basically had me go through CRJ. What is that? Is a community.
Justice.
Yeah. So they had me go through CRJ, and I went through them, and they basically said to me that, okay, you're gonna pay these tickets off. Once these tickets get paid, you're clear, and you're able to, you know, you're able to drive and do all these things. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I did. I went there. I worked hard. I got all the money up. In my mind, I was thinking I was done because that's what they was telling me, right? But then I noticed every time I did my taxes, they were saying that the taxes were going to fines. And I'm just like, how is it going to fines? I thought I paid all my fines. Come to find out, they made me pay. They said that I had to pay half the tickets. Then I had to turn around and pay the whole ticket. So for another year and a half, financially, they were in my pockets, taking money from me, from something that I never even knew that I had to do, which was frustrating, and which was also frustrating and upsetting, because it took money out of my pocket, and I wasn't able to pay my bills. So that was another reason why I had a hard time also with work. Had a hard time with finding work. Nobody would give me a job. Granted, I wasn't convicted of any, you know, they dismissed the charges. They even sent me a letter saying, look, we dismissed the charges, it's done. But they basically told me that I had to pay the rest of those tickets off, which was, to me, was really crazy. And like I said, it's like, I want to say maybe 2 months ago, I just finished paying off all of it. So I was under the illusion that I was good, but apparently I wasn't. But also during this time, I was battling a custody case with my son. His aunt and uncles were trying to get custody of him. Like I said, there wasn't no situations there, but it was because I was black. They looked at me in a certain way that wasn't right. Also, you know, the state's attorney at that time also looked at me as a menace, as a bad person, as somebody that's not good for the community. You know, they did a number on me in that town, in Bennington. And you know, I'm pretty sure that they doing it to other people, but let me see.
So it sounds like you've had barriers after barriers that have been placed up.
Basically.
Did anybody ever, was there ever anybody that tried to help, or was it no one believed you? And it sounds like after your charges were dropped, you were still in prison?
Yeah, after that, they still kept me, and they said that because it was another, but we had made a deal that if I pled out, that I would be able to be on probation and not jail. So they went back, like I said, they went back on their word because I wasn't convicted of lewd and lascivious, which I didn't do. And I think that there was some retaliation from that. That's how I felt that was done to me. Like I said, the hardest thing was like trying to get my license back. Them constantly stopping me for, like I said, the most trivial of offenses.
Like what, Sean? What were the?
Tail light. I mean, one of them basically told me that that they wanted me to be a snitch for them. I'm like, I'm not doing that, man. You know, to work for them. There was one other time that they also told me that they were told that I had underage girls in my apartment. So they came up to my apartment, knocked on my door, and they demanded to come in. And I looked at them and I said, do you have a warrant? And they said, no, we don't have a warrant. It was 2 police officers. And so they kept insisting to come in, and I kept saying, no, you cannot come in. So the officer said, okay, you want the warrant? I'm gonna send this guy back to go back and get the warrant and come back. I'm gonna wait right here, and you're gonna stand right here, and I'm gonna hold the door. So they tried to prop their foot. They put their foot in the door to wait for the man to come back so he can come in and check my apartment, which he did. He came back, he checked the apartment. There wasn't nothing there. But like I said, that was a situation where, you know, I was being held with no charges, you know. And I know that quite frequently happened to a few other people. But that's one incident that I can remember with the police in Bennington.
Sean, so in terms of access, so you were in jail for something you didn't do, but then what happens after in terms of work, in terms of transportation? Have you navigated, or what has this state systems, like we're thinking, like to get a job, like what did that look like?
I know that, you know, the state building has, you know, I was allowed to go in and, you know, try to apply for different jobs. But the kind of jobs that I was used to getting, they weren't available. So I had to work jobs that just didn't suit me. You know, working in McDonald's, working in all these, some of these places. Like, again, I'm not down in none of those places, but you know, I felt I wasn't, for me, it wasn't good for me to work at those places because, you know, those places wasn't for me to work at. You know, some assembly lines they had me on. There was one incident where I was on the assembly line and I can hear a person talking about Mexicans, which really bothered me and I had a problem with, to the point where a few of us went to the manager and was like, listen, man, we don't, you know, we're tired of hearing these guys talk about, you know, different races and stuff like this. Don't make us feel comfortable. And obviously nothing really came of that. So that's also an example of what was going on also at that time. But like I said, I can just remember and still to this day, just a lot of the things, a lot of the racial incidents that I had to go through living in Bennington, living in Vermont.
Thank you. Can you tell us maybe some ideas that you have or thoughts that you have about what the state, do you have any recommendations what the state can do to be different? Any of these systems? Do you have any recommendations for us?
I think the state should just keep in mind that there's other people of other cultures that are going to be in Vermont, to just understand where other people are coming from, not just look at the lens from their own lens of how they think things should be, but because for me, I think that was an issue for me when I first got here. You're acting to New York City. Well, how am I supposed to act? I mean, that was my environment.
Mm-hmm.
Something as simple as just maybe, I mean, it was way past the time, like walking with loud music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walking with a radio on the side with loud music. People may look at that as like, no, we don't do that here. We don't do that. I actually got yelled at from someone that said that I played my music too loud. But this is not New York City.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just those kind of things that because what it's doing is pushing you to be a different person. That's not who you are, right? So you have to adjust and change, because up here we don't do that stuff down in New York City. So.
Do you still feel like you're targeted in your community?
Not no more, because they know that I use my voice a lot more, so they don't mess with us no more. But there's times that I do still feel that people kind of give me, I mean, even to now, I'm trying to look for another job, and it's been really tough to really find another job. So I think, I think they still hold some types of resentment. So I mean, it even like stretches to my family members. My nephew had got in trouble, and he had done something that wasn't good. I think he did something that wasn't good, but it wasn't to the point where they, the punishment didn't fit the punishment didn't fit the crime. Like, they gave him 16 years, for something, for trivia. You know what I'm saying? So even that, I think, because of who I am and what maybe they could be retaliating me on that as well. But I don't know, but I do know that they are. It's hard for them to listen to people of different cultures and races, and just they just don't at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Is there anything else? Any questions? Okay. Thank you so much for this. And we're gonna take a longer break. Go ahead.
How long?
Thank you very much. We're going to take about a 15-minute break, and then we'll gather in here after that, okay?
Thank you, y'all.
That one of our amazing and wonderful consultants was Brenda Reynolds, who managed the care team for the Canadian TRC, and she gifted us, as well as the folks in Maine when they did their TRC process, a ceremony in which they collected the tears in the form of through tissues, and then after they did a ceremony where they released them and they sent them up as blessings, and so as a collective part of this process and the healing that is going to come out of it. And so that is what the baskets are for. So if you would like to, Just the tears, no other weird things. If you would like to, then please feel free to put them in the basket. So thank you very much.
The tissues.
The
of
tissues.
The tears.
You don't actually have to cry into the basket, but like the tissues. So thank you. All right. So folks are coming in and sitting down. So one more, about 30 seconds, and then we'll start. Okay. And there's plenty of tissues. Everything is here. Okay, so we're here with Diana, who has very bravely come here to speak. So thank you. And you take whatever time you need. We're here for you.
I am Diana Jones. I'm Jenny Jones, that beautiful soul's sister, little sister. Jenny summed up quite a bit of the family issues. One thing I do want to say is a lot of my tears are for my mom. I miss her. And she didn't ever get to tell her story. She told us, but she had a hard time talking about a lot of things. So there's just a lot of things that we don't know that we're never gonna know, but I'm here because I want everybody to know her story because it's extremely important. What she had gone through in her life and who she was as a person and what was taken away from her whole life, even before she was born. Her birth was the moment she was born, everything was taken from her. I'm gonna try to keep myself on a story and get through it, but it might be a little hard for me. I did tell her that even after she was gone, she would be known to the world because I wouldn't ever stop talking about her. My memories with my mom are extremely painful. Like Jenny said, the mental health issues are a huge part of us. We know where it started. I am a Beneki of Missisquoi and I'm extremely proud of it. No one will ever tell me who I am not and who I am. No one will ever tell me I'm not enough, and no one will ever tell me I'm not what I am. Our people were gonna become extinct, and nobody cared. They wanted us to not be here. They wanted us to not have a voice, and they did really good at that. My mom didn't speak because she didn't have a voice, and it didn't matter, even when she did speak. Growing up, being able to talk about it only within the family was hard. There was no positive things that came along with it. You know, there was a lot of anger and animosity. My mom had identity issues, and she spent her whole life not understanding herself. Because I know what she wanted to be, and she wanted to be who she was. And they told her no. So she became who she was told to be. She prayed every day. And honestly, I really truly feel like my mom thought if she did anything wrong, God would strike her dead. And that's what she tried to instill in us, and that's just not who we were. Her children always fought against it. My mom died with her rosary beads in her hand. And that's okay, it's what she wanted. But I buried her with a beautiful bracelet made by Linda Sheehan. Because I wanted her to take a part of who she was with her. There's a lot of moving parts to the story, but part of what I wanted to touch on was my personal journey with mental health and physical disabilities, stemming from everything. We asked, what did the state of Vermont facilitate? And they facilitated the demise of an entire group of people, along with multiple different communities. The discrimination is deep here. It's deeply rooted in the people. Kind of always has been. And I truly believe that a lot of what we suffer in our family stems from generational trauma. I was seeing a neurosurgeon because of a brain defect that we found 3 years ago that causes me a tremendous amount of issues. And I said to him, he was an older gentleman, he was in his 70s. And I said, do you think that between the generational trauma of being the product of assimilation, as well as the traumas that my mother received at the orphanage, do you think that could have caused a lot of the physical and mental health issues in our family? And he quickly dismissed it. He worked for Dartmouth Hospital. He quickly dismissed it and said no. And I said, how can that generational trauma not cause these things? And it's because they're not willing to look at it a different way. Because who wants to acknowledge what's happened? Because then they're complicit. Many of these doctors that went to UVM, did things to the children of the orphanage, and who facilitated the University of Vermont. If it wasn't Vermont, all of these survivors who are amazing, strong people who've tried to do their life differently and not perpetuate these cycles still suffer tremendously because they're still looked at by the state of Vermont as a problem that should just go away. And they're never going to go away. My sister and I are never going to go away. Our words will be spoken loud and clear. Now, on the topic of discrimination, something that I go through every day of my life today that doesn't pertain to my Abenaki heritage is my physical disabilities. I spent many years of my life not understanding why it was hard to move, it was hard to talk, it was hard to think. I was always tired. I didn't know what was going on, all while I'm just trying to struggle with understanding myself, trying to find my identity. And that was painful, I guess, in more than one way. I am currently on disability, which I'm not embarrassed about saying, but I can say that we have a huge issue with age discrimination when it comes to disabled people. It took me 10 years for the Disability Administration, or whatever you call it, to even think of me in any other way because I'm 40. Why can't I go to work and get a full-time job? Why can't I do these things? All not even knowing that I'm a huge part of my community and I work every single day at the pace that I can to help different communities, not just one. And I was told that because of my age, I should just be able to do it. And not being believed in that matter is just as painful as someone telling you you're not an Indian. You're not an Indian. You don't even look like one. Oh, it's okay. And then trying to deal with, the mental health and the physical issues, and having to take those years of not being able to support myself properly, living with my family members, not understanding what my problem is, bringing myself down all the time because I just couldn't be normal. Could I? All because I was young. I have degenerative disc disease, osteoarthritis, a brain defect, but I come from a long family of disabilities. I have a sister with a heart defect that almost killed her. She's 41. I have a niece with a kidney disease, a nephew with the same brain defect, another niece with a heart defect. A lot of these things that we have are rare. Why did they happen? If it wasn't generational trauma, what happened? I was in utero. My mom led a very stressful life from everything that she had to deal with, and she died at 68 years old. 68. Part of me feels like Vermont does care, but there's a huge part of me that feels like they just want to perpetuate cycles. And there are a lot more people that need to tell their story, and I hope that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission can surpass their 4 years, because people are not going to come forward until they see all of us here saying what we need to say. I do tribal work within the town of Rockingham, which is extremely important to me, to have our people be known and the factual history to be known. When I first started wanting to do it, there was pushback, but a lot of people in the community know me and know the amount of work that I've put into trying to help. So luckily, we did have a lot of people from the community that were helpful, but there was pushback in the beginning. And I truly felt like I had to take my foot, kick the door in, and say, it doesn't matter if you don't want to listen or not. We're here. So let's do this. And, here we are, and now that, we've been able to get grants, because I work along with Yale New pretty closely, because our band is up north, to get the people here to understand. I feel like Southern Vermont has kind of been forgotten, and we have a rare set of petroglyphs in Bellows Falls, 2 panels that speak volumes about the stories of our people, but it's ignored. Why is it ignored? Because nobody wants to hear about it. It's better now than it used to be, but I had to take into my own hands calling a demolition company to stop them from doing work on a piece of land where there had been multiple burial sites up and down the area. And no one could understand why I wanted to interrupt the progress of this space. And I said, well, what if you come across the burial site? Do I really feel like these companies are going to stop and tell someone? Definitely not. No, I don't. Do not have that faith. So that kind of initiated people paying attention. And I'm like, I want to bring a group of people together who can help change this. Because we need to. Cultural survival. Shouldn't have to be that way. We should just be able to talk about it. And not be judged. But like Jenny said, we're judged harshly. Because we're not real. We don't know. We don't get it. But at the end of the day, our people were almost wiped out completely. Whether it was us assimilating because we had no choice, or death. One thing my mom talked about was the fear of dying because of who she was, scared of saying who she was. My grandmother's sister. She was put in the Brattleboro retreat for wanting to know her heritage, for wanting to understand her people, for wanting to practice her culture. But she was just crazy. She ran away. That's the only reason she got out. She was committed for a lifetime. And now she's the only one that's left that we can talk to. And it's hard for her to talk about any of it. Any of it. She left here, I believe she said 50 years ago. It's about when she left, and she never wanted to come back. I think that's sad you can't go back to the land that you belong on. Because of how much they hurt you and scared you. You want to die? Go ahead, talk about it. Go ahead. See what happens. You get beat up. Even by your own family. We didn't experience that, but my mother did. They will beat the Abenaki out of you. Don't talk about it. You are Catholic. You're nothing else. And even being Catholic, you didn't have a voice. You have no pain. You do not get seen. You do not get to talk. We are here. We are strong. Our people are beautiful. And if people don't choose to see that, their opinion does not matter because they are not us. They'll never know how we feel. They'll never acknowledge. But some people will. And that's why we do what we do. We will survive. That's basically it.
So you have touched on so many things that have caused not only harm to you, but your family and generations of family and family who are still here. And we have been asking all of our truth tellers about recommendations, things that could repair. And I'm sure you have lots of ideas about how to how to repair things in the now.
Yeah.
But I'd also wonder if you have recommendations on how to repair the harm from the past.
Acknowledgement. Proceeding with factual history. History is a huge part of my life. It's what I love. And the lack of factual history is the problem. There's a lot of people trying to get history out there, factual history. But even in our schools, it's a work in progress, and there are a lot of people working really hard to get the proper education into the schools, but it's a matter of our schools and the people who run them to understand that the factual information needs to be there. If you want to teach about, have a Native curriculum, ask the Native people about what the curriculum should be. You should teach about the people of the land. Yes, we need to know about all different types of tribes, but we need to know about the people of the land. What we were taught was very generic and not correct. I mean, we have a very beautiful painting in our middle school depicting Abenaki people fishing. They have very generic faces and bodies. You know, it just... Education. Education, education. Even if you don't want to hear it, you listen. It's just making people have to listen. And the more that we're able to get it out there, I mean, our younger generations are the change. I mean, we can try to change all we want to now, but our younger generation is the true change. So if we don't help educate them on a different path, nothing will ever change. My stepson's school is really good. His teacher had called me and said, hey, we got an email from the state saying we needed to beef up our Native curriculum. And I said, that's great. And I sent her basically to Vera. And, But she listened and understood because I educate my stepson. And he'll speak out when they say something that's not quite correct. But it takes my 10-year-old stepson to do that. And it takes our children to change, not the adults. Yeah. That's all. I appreciate everything you guys have done and facilitated, and I hope that this goes further because you can't have truth and reconciliation in 4 years. I find that to be I don't even know the word for it. You can't have truth and reconciliation in 4 years, so I hope the state sees that and goes further to try to help people come out and tell their stories. We have a handful of people here because people are scared to tell their story. But once they start seeing people say it, more will come. We just have to wait. We just have to wait.
Thank you for being the example.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, 5-minute break to reground ourselves and process. And that was our last truth teller of today. Again, thank you for your consideration.
Before we bring out our next truth teller, we have a video to show you that he would like you all to see. This video he does not want to be part of, but he will come in afterwards. I also want to let everybody know that everyone's truth-telling experience was curated by the truth teller themselves. So you will see different ways that people prefer to tell their truths. And so they might be different from each individual truth teller, but they are definitely the way that they want to tell their truths. And so our next truth teller has asked for this video to be played so that it can introduce his truth. Thank you.
You are assaulting. No, I'm not. You're under arrest. You're resisting arrest. You are under arrest. You are assaulting. I am not even resisting. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Mr. Brown, put your hands behind your back. What? Give me a charge. You are under arrest. Give me a charge. You are under arrest. How? Put your hands. Dude, my son is right here. I'm not even trusting. Get on the ground. Oh, dude. Okay. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Hey, guys, I will do this if you stop. If you stop, I will do this. Your hands behind your back. I am not trying to resist. Stop resisting. I am trying not to resist. Will you stop? I said I would do this. No, give me your hand. What? I can do this. Then do it. Well, stop. Get on the ground. Will you stop, please? Get on the ground. Ow, sir. Get your hand behind your back. I can't. You're bending my fingers. Hello? My son is right there. Not anymore. Oh, my God. Ow, dude. You're going to get tased. You're going to get tased if you do not. You haven't even given me a charge. You haven't said what I'm under arrest for or nothing. Domestic assault. How? Who? Who? You haven't even said anything. Are you serious, dude? Ow! Oh my God! Stop resisting. Jordan! I'm not! Yeah, you are. Ow! I'm not even trying to get up. I'm not even trying to get up. Oh my God! You disobeyed lawful commands. How? Who? You! Oh my God! By fighting with us when you're supposed to go in here all morning. Dude! Now listen! You asked me!
Right here. Here's your water.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for telling your truth today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. My name is Jason Brown. I'm originally from North Carolina. I've been in Vermont for approximately, I'd say, 13 years now. And I'm here to tell the truth.
Thank you. Can you tell us about that video?
Well, yeah. First thing I want to say about that video is I kind of been waiting almost a decade to play it or have it seen without repercussion, fear. But it shows a lot of things that is wrong about this system. Number one would be the fact that what the officers were called out for, I don't know if the audio was played, it was supposedly a domestic allegations and whatnot, but this was the behavior initially. As you saw, I was conversating with one officer, the other officers were a little bit more aggressive than they needed to be on a call like that of simple allegations, no proof, no anything. So that right there was the dragging out, the placing a person on their face and all that, bending my fingers, giving unlawful commands that I couldn't even do due to the fact that they had me in such a way. All that could have been solved if they were just asking me to come outside and put your hands behind your back. There was none of that, as you guys observed. And again, all on alleged allegations that were never confirmed or don't have a record for that event as we speak right now. It's not something that, is on my record as of today.
So there
to
are
my
no
knowledge.
charges against you for this video?
For that video, although that event happened like it happened, which was unnecessary, point blank. So I'm happy it was able to be played so that I can get the position that most Black people in this area experience with law enforcement and not being not having proper procedures followed. And I'm pretty sure it would have been different had I been a different color.
How do you feel that you have been impacted since this day?
Well, so from that point on, it puts a certain type of fear in you, so that you don't get out of line, so to speak. Because if this is what they unleash on you when you have simple, if it's not even proven things, if somebody just calls somebody, if they basically weaponize the police against you, this is what you get, and it just doesn't take much for that to happen to you. I'm coming from the South, so I know what racism look like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like up here, it's woven into the system. It's covered over by, this cliche of liberalism or whatever, they say, that I was, that was the first thing I heard about Vermont was how liberal it is and how safe it is, and it's not. That's a lie. There's more fear up here than I've ever had down south from North Carolina.
And is it from this event or is it from other events as well?
So yes, this event, I've had run-ins with judges who decide to place allegations on you. Now, this is totally different. Another truth. I was trying to get custody of my son. I had already had emergency custody of him. And at the end of that court hearing, I was devastated because my son was taken out of my custody, placed back into the custody of the mother of my child, in which at that time she was homeless. So that put an extra worry on me, being a new father at that time too. So coming out of that, the judge decided to say that I broke a door on the way out. There were four bailiffs who signed off on their own individual affidavits that I was belligerent and I was cursing and all this. But they failed to play the audio, they failed to play the video of all these things transpiring and happening, and they're alleging me behaving in this manner. Which come to find out, that's illegal because every court in America is supposed to have, by law, surveillance. So that if there's any chance of anything happening in the courtroom that could prove your innocence, that would be played. I was denied that.
Were you charged with anything in that case?
They threw it out. But it went through 2 courthouses before they could do that, in 2 years of me going to these fraudulent court hearings.
And you never received custody of your son?
No.
And where did he go?
He went back into the custody of his mother, which he's been to this day, and due to the nature of how I was, how these stories came up, I was too afraid to go back and try to further my venture of getting custody of my son. Who knows what else they could have thrown on me, so why go back into the fire if there's another chance of me possibly getting burned, because it was what I was told by my lawyer at the time was it was a 5-year sentence that was hanging over my head for breaking the door, which I didn't do. And I requested them if they had any evidence of video or audio to please play that, because it would prove my innocence. And all they had was, at the time, was the audio. But it showed, or you heard me say at the end of the court hearing, Your Honor, am I allowed to leave? So that kind of threw all of what they said on paper out the window, and which is the reason it was thrown out. But it also sets the tone of again, leaving that situation into another, the fear of doing anything outside of whatever context that you don't even know you're in. You're in the bubble. You don't know what you can and cannot do until it comes to you, but yeah.
So how I heard you call for your son in the video.
Yes.
And I'm hearing, you have fought to keep your son How has that resolved? How have you continued to be in your son's life? And what challenges are, if any, have presented as a result of what happened that we all witnessed and of what you were speaking of with being denied any kind of custody?
Well, that part was kind of difficult because in the video, you know, I'm very concerned about my child and the fact that what he said, you know, I'm saying, you know, there's my son right there, and it's like not anymore, and it's like, you don't care, you know. That was very difficult for me to go through right there. But have I fought to stay in my son's life? Yes. The system of child support is, I never could understand it. It just.
It's okay, take your time. What sort of barriers did child support present for you? Can you name
So, yeah, and it's kind of where to start with this. So it's hard enough to get jobs in this area, being a person of color. My first job that I felt like I was doing good but found out I was doing bad was a lumber yard. And I'm only bringing this up because that lumber yard tried to take, they I was almost killed by one of the employees that worked at a certain lumber yard. And it was due to the fact that I had taken a position that was taken from another person. And a friend of his didn't like that too much. So he was always making my job harder for me when I was working, because he worked in this section, I worked in this section. But long story short, on one of my breaks, we were coming in, and I was the last person in line, and as we're coming into the facility, a machine comes on, and the lumber comes out of the machine. It hits me in my thigh, drives me into a bend, and these are logs that are maybe 10 feet long and hundreds of pounds, and I would have been crushed, basically, if I hadn't jumped out of where I was. Anyway, long story short on that situation was, the only way it could have been activated is if somebody turned the machine on. He was the only person in that area. I was fired from there for bringing that up. So I'm not even gonna go into who that was or what happened. Only reason I'm bringing that up again is because it's hard to get a job and keep that job in this area. So it makes it hard for me to pay child support if I'm steady switching jobs. And if racism has anything to do with that, then from job to job to job, I don't know what I've done to lose this one, this one, this one, or this one. How do I correct it? What do I change about me? Is the question you always asking yourself when you're switching from job to job to job. Meanwhile, your arrears are racking up on you because Child support told me I couldn't pay through the courts. Child support told me I couldn't pay any other way than through having a job and being garnished my funds. That was the only option that was given to me. And yes, I've asked, can I pay through the courts? Can I pay her in hand? I expended all of my options and I was denied all of them. There's nothing you can do but get a job and pay it like this. So were my options limited? Yeah, I believe so, because I don't think that they were being forthcoming with the truth of that matter, saying this is the only way you can make your child support payments. Okay?
So for example, maybe start your own business. That wasn't an option to start a business and pay it that way.
Not when you're struggling. Not when you're gasping for life, trying to figure out what avenue worked for you.
Yeah.
So when you're steady in that disarray, which is, it's almost like the system is designed to keep you in that low frequency, don't move too far out of your bounds, and you don't even know what your boundaries are because they keep moving them.
Yeah. That sounds like mobility and access to me.
So,
that.
On that note, that was compounded issues with living in Vermont. You not, because I can tell this story to other people and they're like, well, why didn't you do this, that, and the other? Nobody, when I asked those questions of can I pay this way or that way, I was given these limited answers. Okay. So that type of treatment goes on through everything else in this area, you know. And on the note of the job, I was just wanted to bring this up. I have a job at this time, but before this job, I was going for another job. I go in, I get my interview, I ace my interview, I have a. So they tell me to go get a physical for the job before I get scheduled. So I go to the urgent care, which is where they directed me. I have my paper for identifying where I'm coming from and have their insurance card, which they told me to go there, present this to them, and you'll get your physical. Well, when I get to the place, I'll come through the door, I'm happy, I'm smiling, I'm about to get a job. But the receptionist's face tells me I might not get that, because immediately when I walk in, her facial expression changes. When I present my papers of information, she immediately tells me, we don't do that anymore. That's word for word. We don't do that anymore. Okay. My question to her is, well, when did you stop doing this? Because I'm here now. Okay. Well, we stopped doing this 3 days ago. Okay, well, nobody told my company that I'm coming from that this is what's happening. I'm asking the questions because I'm wondering why I'm here if you guys don't do this anymore. You know, if this is not a thing that you stopped it 3 days ago, but nobody told the company to not send me here to look, I guess, crazy in front of you. But instead of giving me a actual answer that made sense, she told me I could leave. And so the conversation led up to me asking more questions and her calling the cops. So instead of me coming in and getting a job and being a contributing citizen and whatnot, I'm met with that. what do you call that? I didn't show any signs that I was a menace to society or anything that what do you call that? That's racism. That's discrimination, that's bias, whatever. And I get restricted from not only getting a job, but that's urgent care. I'm banned from urgent care. I'm tired of trying to conform to a system that does not adhere to me conforming to them. So no matter what disguise I put on to try to blend in, I'm still sticking out like a red, I'm still sticking out, and it's not a good feeling.
Does that, when you say you're sticking out, does that mean you feel targeted sometimes? You feel like you've been targeted against?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not even as simple as that. You know what I'm saying? It's a bit more complicated than just being targeted. You know what I'm saying? These are opportunities in life that is being taken and stolen from you. You know what I'm saying? Anytime, I don't know if I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records for as many jobs I had in one area. You know, when you have to switch up so many times, I had to go take therapy for just not knowing why I can't stay stable. I'm going to work with people half my age who have more time at a job than I have. So you have had more opportunity. I'm hearing about, and I'm not being nitpicky or whatever you want to call it, but you go to a job. I'm 45. I'm about to be 45, right? But my boss is 21. Married, house, all this stuff, and I'm sitting here steady restarting. I don't like this. I'm trying to get away from Vermont. This is not a place for people of color. And I'll say that time and time again until something changes. Because this is not where I want to raise my child. It's confusing, it's unjust, whatever you want to call it. It's just things need to drastically change.
That brings us to, how can we change it? How can we change what happened to you? And what would you say that we need to change so it doesn't happen to other people?
You know, I'm just a citizen, but at the same time, I do want to try to shed light on this, because I don't know what it looks like for to be a person in legislative, to have that power to say don't do this and don't do that. All I do know is it's by design, and the reason why I know it's by design to affect a certain culture is because white culture doesn't expect, they don't experience it. So it's designed to not affect these certain people, but affect these certain people. So let's change the design. Let's make it just for everybody. Let's make it work for everybody. If you can exclude one certain culture from this disgusting treatment, you can do it for everybody.
And so we've heard about police, and we've heard about education. Well, sorry, not education, employment, health. Is there any other places that you felt the same sort of discrimination?
Well, yeah.
Courts, sorry, thank
I
you,
would
criminal
say,
justice.
I would definitely say the education of courts. We live in a society where the courts do not even speak the same language as the country. They have Latin terms that the everyday citizens don't even know what they mean. So there's a lack of education in our school systems that you fear your citizens knowing too much about your court systems. We can go all day into that, but that's just scratching the surface on the problems that we're having from miscommunication. And if you wanted a more productive society, then you would have them be privy to the full knowledge of what law looks like, what it means to be lawful, you know. How do you make a better society? Well, you tell them the do's and don'ts, and how do you tell them the do's and don'ts of law? But if you neglect law out of our schools, if you neglect law from our children, how do they know to grow up and be good citizens? You know, and if your terms in this lawful court are terms that we don't use in an everyday setting and is foreign to the average citizen, how do we have an understanding between law enforcement and the average everyday citizen? And that's not even saying to the more neglected people of color who they're trying to cap all types of knowledge from us, even our own history. So what do we do with that? That's a place to start.
I know that you have a lot of pride for your son and wondering about all the other sons of what is the message?
That I don't want him to experience this. This needs to be a past thing by the time he gets 18. By the time he gets 21. We are living in the future, not the past. And it's supposed to get better from here. So what I'm even here putting my face to these stories or putting my likeness out here is for that whole factor right there. I want my son to not worry about this. Life has its own problems as is, making good decisions, being a good person, doing on the others they want them to do on you, things that nature. Being hated because of what you look like is ridiculous. Having opportunities taken from you because of the color of your skin is ridiculous. But in this climate, it's also a life and death matter. That is crazy. You know, just imagine having to think about that every day. Or looking on the news and seeing something happening unjustly to somebody that looks like you. And you gotta go on your job and look at all these white people that don't look like you, that don't know what you just experienced on TikTok, any social media you wanna look at. That changes your mood about that day because nobody wants to change anything about what keeps happening. So you look back as like we're just, working objects. We're just here to feed the machine. So yeah, when when you bring your children into this, it's like, you don't want to. There's certain things you don't even want your son or daughter even knowing about, you know. And racism is one of them. We can really do without it. It's not necessary. Just like that video everybody just saw, the treatment was not necessary. You could have asked me whatever you wanted to ask me. You know, I didn't have to be rushed to the ground. I didn't have to be pummeled on my back. I didn't have to have someone on my back choking me, making me lose oxygen so that I don't even know what I was saying at that moment. You know, the embarrassment of when I got the video and hearing myself in front of my neighbors being humiliated and having to return to that neighborhood and explain. Having to, and honestly, I really didn't have to explain, because here's the thing, my neighbors took that.
They took that video
for me because they knew what type of person I was. This is the last person this should happen to, is what I was told. When they said, hey, I have the video for you. This shouldn't happen to you. These are my neighbors. These are people, white people I live by. Okay? So I wasn't, like I said, a menace to society or anything like that. Like, why do you have to go to this extreme over what I look like? So, if I don't know, it's just I hope this moves the needle. I hope this, or hearing us talk, it's just not just, I'm not just here for me, I'm hearing us talk about this, get this out in the open again. Hopefully this time it moves the needle. Like I said, there's not enough time to talk about everything that is wrong.
You've done a beautiful job talking about that.
But we really need to work together at this, okay? Because I can tell you, okay, so we're asking here, we're here to say, we're telling our truths to see what needs to be changed, okay? I can do my part, I can tell my truth, okay? Now we need people on the other side to absorb this and see what they can do to change it, because I'm not in legislative positions to make those kind of decisions, you know. But I am here to push that law. I am here to give more power behind getting things right.
And Jake,
Oh, I appreciate.
we do. And I do want to just reiterate, because I know it's important to you, that regardless of what happened in that video and what subsequently in your custody, the accusations, do you have any charges? Do you have a record?
I do not, to my knowledge.
You have no record.
So, that being said, all of that was unnecessary. But it's like, yeah, I don't have a record, but yeah, that's the treatment.
Thank you. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I do, and I just don't know how to come out with it.
Take your time.
People, I just want to say this. Again, I don't know how to change it, but it's like, I can tell you what I don't like, as opposed to what's happening.
Okay.
Okay, and to say, oh, this needs to change, again, I'm not in that position. I can tell you what needs to go though.
Okay, we'll take that.
And that's the how they take opportunity away from people of color. Whether it's through the system of getting you incarcerated, which that is, I just explained to you guys, they've tried to do that. Whether it's denying you jobs, I just described to you guys how they deny me of that. Denying you simple things as if you have children, how to provide for them. Because I don't think it's lawful for any agency to put a price tag on your child when they don't know them or know their needs or know their wants or anything. And how humane is that? When you're putting a price tag on a soul that you don't even take care of. Okay? I know my son, not child support. I know what he needs, not child support. So that's a whole nother thing that is a little bit, this just needs, that needs reform. But again, another way that they have tried to extend my struggle, I'm putting it lightly, but to be more transparent with us, okay? And I mean us as people of color. You want to fire me, that's fine. Tell me why. Maybe I can fix it on the next job. And if there's and just for everybody, you know, if anybody can't tell you why they're having an issue with you out loudly, 9 times out of 10 it's racism. Okay? And I've experienced a litany of facets of how that works. And again, whether it's through your job, whether it's through the society you live in, or whether they try to get you through your children and education. And I've given examples of all 3 of those. And have more stories, you know. But like I said, this scratching the surface. And again, I thank you for allowing me to speak a little bit of my truth.
Thank you. And you know, Jake, your truth will be on record, and we will be publishing them in 2027. And so you have time to add more to your story before we publish it. So I encourage you to take the moment and continue to think about things that you would like to include on your story if you would like to do that later. You don't have to do it all now.
And that's good, because it's probably going to be necessary. Because, you know, the fitting the description around here, I swear to God, I've hit every bell, every mark for some reason. Whether it's just being pulled over for being black on a Tuesday, I've experienced it all. And it does not make for a good society if you're trying to say everybody's equal and the people are not experiencing that equality. And then you have to take that around with you everywhere you go, whether you're around your children, you're around your workmates, your mate for life, whatever. You carry that weight of self-doubt, because that is what's put on you. You can't get up and you don't understand why initially. And then when you realize what's going on, you realize the racism that's woven into the system is why you have gum on your shoe and you can't move. You know, you realize that, and then that's a whole nother mountain to conquer. Trying to stay sane in a society that doesn't really care for your being. You know, your presence is some kind of a blemish on their society. Even though you are what feeds it, you are what makes it work. And again, you carry that with you everywhere. So still to this day, I have a job, but I have to take time off every now and again because 99.9% of my job, white, right? And over time, it gets so white folks don't understand what it means to be be isolated from your own kind, and how that could cause a certain type of issues with you mentally, because you can't relate to the person next to you all the time, or they're not going through what you're going through. So why even explain it to your boss? Why even explain it to your constituents, whatever? Because they're not going to understand. And then there's a defensive part that comes out after you're explaining your trials and your tribulations to them, because it looks pretty bad for their culture. Like, oh, well, I didn't know you were experiencing it. Yeah. And that's part of it, you know, that you carry with you daily, of somebody getting defensive and causing more opportunity to be taken away from you. You know, so that's another part of this that brings a certain level of fear. Who's gonna see this? Who's gonna say what? How is this gonna affect you in your life outside of this? Those are all factors that you have to look at. So when I come to these events, that's what I'm carrying with me too. What kind of backlash am I gonna receive for telling my truth? For trying to make a difference. And that's another thing with my culture, that fear of being accosted in your own society, that different treatment, you know, where it might be normal in a neighborhood to, oh yeah, well, you know, I got pulled over the other day, whatever, but it's not normal. We're normalizing these atrocities and saying, oh, that's just because we black, you know. That don't make it right. That doesn't make it right. So again, normalizing disgusting behavior is something that we can start with that too.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
I'm really trying to, even with this conversation, I am trying to hold it together and not be angry. Okay, so that's, because this is a discussion in 2025 we should have been past. Okay, and so, and I know that's on everybody's mind, and if it ain't, it should be. Progression is waiting right after we get rid of this racist block. It's very expensive and how do you say, it's not
Sustainable.
It's not a sustainable society that we're going for when we're including racism into the country, really. You know, it's just, this is just one state that we're talking about, you know, but again, it's just not a sustainable living situation if you're talking about living a Christian life, a life with morals and all this good stuff. How do you do that when you're confusing a certain part of society or a certain culture with biased racist rhetoric? How do you do that? Because even if they are a person such as myself that is strong enough to say, I'll wait it out and wait for my time to get this out, to do this. What about the people who are on their jobs right now that just are ready to snap because of the treatment? You know, I don't know how relevant this is, but I feel like it's relevant to me. It was in the news here in Brattleboro. There was a African lady that was homeless, and she was asking for mental help from one of the homeless shelters here. And instead of them helping her, they kind of ridiculed her and you know, to the point where this woman purchased a weapon, came back and committed an unaliving to a certain staff. Now, why do I bring this up? The reason I bring this up is because it was simple miscommunication of them not adhering to a black person's plea for help. So even that type of thing does not help society grow.
Hurts everyone.
Okay, right. So that's 2 lives taken off the street. One killed the other one, the other one's locked up. That's 2 lives dismissed. When it could have been, there's just so many preventative problems due to racism. That's why I, you know, like, again, this is not a hard situation to solve. You know what I'm saying? It's really black and white. And again, you can tell it's by design because white people do not experience racism. So how did they pull that off? They designed a situation so they didn't have to. I don't know if that's my time, but yeah, that's just a couple of things I just wanted to get off my chest before it is, you know.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. And we want you to go take care of yourself. We have the room ready for you, okay?
Okay.
And we're gonna have a closing ceremony. Yeah.
I appreciate you
We
all.
appreciate you and your courage to
Thank
be
you.
here and to speak. Thank you.
Good.
Our care team is coming in right now to do it, to close us out. So please, just bear with us and then we'll go eat together and break bread together.
I do want to say you all have been awesome.
Amazing witnesses.
Honorary witnesses.
Amazing
It was
witnesses.
quiet. It was wonderful. Thank you for listening.
Let's keep our next one will be in Montpelier. September 6th.
Okay. As we close out today, I just want to remember those commitments made this morning from each of you, and it's our belief that in telling a story and in holding a story, it has ripple effects throughout our community to care for each other, and that's the whole purpose of doing this work. And so just remember the commitment made this morning, carry it with you, and should we close with another hum? Yeah?
The hum.
All right, I will start to hum. Feel your body in your chair as you do it. If you find something you find nice or beautiful to attune to, got a beautiful cedar here, and just meet each other in the hum. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves, be taken care of, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Brattleboro. You did. Thank you, Brattleboro.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Let's go eat.